since we first met each other at St. Peter's, where I too picked out that this individual has an enormously large head. And basically from then on, we were best friends. I remember in first grade, we would, there was some game on the computer we'd play, and we'd sit there, and it was some dumb math football game, and we would take delight in running up the score as much as we could. I remember in second grade, there was some type of reading book competition called Accelerated Reader, where you'd read a bunch of books, take tests, get points, add up, and have a competition with each other. I will humbly admit now that he beat me by quite a bit. I never wanted to do that, in the past, but he did. All throughout elementary school, we always played basketball together. We were on the same teams, coached by our dads every other year, and what Mike said about, his relationship with Ron is absolutely true. I mean, Tim looked up to Ron, loved playing with him, even though, believe it or not, the McNeeleys would get in disagreements about how things should be done on certain things. And after the basketball games, we would always have the tradition of going to the TGI Fridays to watch football games on the little booth TVs while we were hanging out. I do agree with a lot of what Mike said. He really kind of took the air out of the room with how well he did. But I also do have some fun stories. Now, Tim was always more of the troublemaker than I was. I think it's fair to say. And the way you know that is probably between the ages of 14 to 17. I just randomly would get calls. Hey man, if mom and dad ask, let them know I'm at your house, okay? No idea where he was to this day. I don't know if I ever had to defend him. I'm sorry, Mary Kay. He was doing who knows what, and like Mike said, the extent of the stories, I don't think we know probably so little of the enjoyment he brought to his life. I do remember when he first got sick, and it took a ton out of him. He essentially had to drop out of high school. He was so sick. But I remember anytime I would be around there, he would always make time to come hang out with me, talk with me, and just relax, and it meant the world. I can also, agree to the enhancement of some of his stories. The pool one was not an enhancement. I witnessed that 13-year-old boy hustle grown men out of a ton of money, and he would let them know he was doing it too, which I was not a fan of, because we were 13 and probably should have not been in that situation. I did not see the $10,000, but Tim did live a fun lifestyle for a 13-year-old, so it does make sense that he had a fair amount of money. But he truly was phenomenal. I remember, I think he went to Las Vegas for a tournament, either shortly before or after Ron passed, and he would text me every day that was probably the most excited and happy I'd ever seen him. He was just thrilled to be there, and not only be there, he was beating people, left and right. So he was so good at pool. He always tried to teach me. I never really caught on, so I guess he just wasn't that good of a teacher. But we all can't be perfect on everything. So the Cameron Diaz story, we do believe we did see Cameron Diaz. And Tim did not hug Cameron Diaz. I didn't take it away from him. What we did is it was our freshman year of high school, and my brother who's here, he was 13, so what we did is we made him run to the hotel front doorman and made him ask, because we thought he would get the best answer, and the hotel people played coy with him, so we are going down and saying it was Cameron Diaz. Some more, fun, patented Tim energy. He really was the life of the party. There was a friend we would ride around in the back of his pickup truck who would always be playing, techno music, the electronic stuff. And I remember we were, 15, it was probably around Christmas time, and we're rolling up into downtown DeLand, kind of where the Elusive Grape is. And Tim's doing this dumb little dance. It kind of reminds me of the Spider-Man 3 Tobey Maguire thing. He loved doing that. And someone kind of comes out of the crowd and starts dancing even more, and Tim's going livid, and you know, he's having the time of his life. It was none other than Michael McNeeley. I don't know if Mike remembers that. Another fun story that Tim absolutely hated being told, because this was, you know, not his best one, but it always brings laughter to my heart. You know, Mike spoke about the special relationship between Megan and Tim, and we saw that, but I also saw the different side of that relationship when they would disagree. And there was one time, I'd say we were in 4th grade, and Ron was coaching us, and Tim was bigger, he was badder, he was stronger than everyone out there. He was by far the best player on the court. And I don't know if Megan was there helping or something, and Tim started running his mouth, as he was prone to do many times. And Megan and him got into a disagreement, and coming from a bunch of 4th graders who had seen Tim be the best kid, the strongest, I have never seen someone go to the ground that quick. Megan cleaned the floor with him. And basically walked off, and Ron just stood there and watched like he had seen this one play out. So, you know, that day, we kind of learned that Tim was not the alpha and too you know, the astrophysics and stuff, the philosophy, Tim could talk your ear off. And like most conversations, or people who have had a conversation with Tim, you know, a lot of those conversations weren't really conversations. It was just a one-sided regurgitation of information that you would just have to sit and listen to. And he could go on forever. I mean, just within the past, 2 months, he was, you know, texting me all night about all this mathematical theory. And I would, you know, I consider myself a pretty smart individual, and I had no idea what he was talking about. But he could go on forever. Now, you know, for me, his major flaw in life was he was a Florida State fan. He was such a Florida State fan. He had come up a few years back, and I live about 20 minutes outside of Gainesville, and we went to a Florida LSU game. The swamp was packed. There were 90,000 fans, and the only thing I remember that he wore that damn FSU hat. And he was ready to talk smack with anyone who would get in his face about that. You know, as far as Tim always being there for people, I mean, he absolutely was. There was a time when my mom passed away about 12 years ago, and he took me back to college to help me unpack my dorm room. He was there every night with me, spending time with me at the hospital. He was, you know, if I was at the house, he was there playing video games with me all night, and that's something I will never forget. And you know, he was a true friend, and I will always cherish the time we had together. And you know, I know we'll see each other again.